In a usual position with the tailbone on the OOV. I'm just gonna use the ball real quick. And then you're gonna lie down all the way down on the OOV or the ball. Have your weights handy. So the weights are going to be handy by each side, but we're just tailbone on the big part of the OOV, the small part is between the shoulder blades, or just letting your tailbone stay on the ball. And let's just start keeping our hands on the outside of the rib cage. Just kind of allow your body to relax, allow the upper back to melt into the floor. Feel the foot in full contact with the floor, the heel, the big toe, the little toe. And we're going to take a deep breath in and start feeling ribcage expansion. And as you exhale, allow your ribcage to move down and start connecting to the deep core, to the transverse abdominis. So as you keep breathing, I want you to visualize a string that goes from hip bone to hip bone. And that string pulls the outside the hip bones towards each other. It's a very subtle pull. It's a very low level contraction. And as you exhale, I want you to tighten that string. There's no tension in the shoulders, no tension in the hips. We're not moving our pelvis. We're just finding that really small contraction in our lower abdominal, starting to tighten the transverse abdominis, feeling maybe a small lift of the pelvic floor. Turning on that internal stabilizing system that consists of the transverse abdominis, the diaphragm, the breathing diaphragm, the pelvic floor diaphragm, and the multifidus in the back. Being on the OOV helps activate multifidus by design because of the pelvic position that it puts us in. Also on the OOV, our upper body is lower so that we're able to contract and use a diaphragm much better through the lower ribs. Now we're going to start bringing our awareness to our hands, grabbing the hand weights if you use them, and reaching your hands up towards the ceiling. Let's take a breath in, allow your shoulder blades to move apart. And then exhale as your shoulder blades move towards the OOV, towards the pointy part of the OOV. Inhale, shoulder blades slide apart. And exhale, they slide towards each other. And again, slide apart and slide towards each other. Just keep going at your own rate. Focusing on the movement through the shoulder blades, shoulders away from ears. Kind of visualizing that they're like glass sliding doors and they move in unison together. With the next breath, let's find neutral position, which is in between of those two extremes. Try to maintain that neutral and allow both hands to reach overhead, elbows straight, as you nod your chin down towards the sternum. And exhale, coming back. We'll do about 6 of those. Inhale, both arms reach overhead, nodding the chin, really bringing our chin down towards the sternum. And exhale as we're coming back. Make sure you're not shrugging, that you're keeping that neutral position of the shoulder blade, keeping it away from ear, but allow it to rotate. That's another benefit of being on the OOV as opposed to on the floor, like I am, that you can actually move your shoulder blades much better. They're not in contact with the ground as much. But you can also get a lot of benefit without the OOV, just with the ball, or even doing this on the floor, making sure that your chin gets down towards the sternum. Last one here. and then coming back. Now arms are reaching up. Let your left arm open out to the side. We're gonna hold it here. So left arm is out, it's not touching the floor, it's about 2 inches off the floor. Turning on our transverse abdominis, our right leg is gonna lift up into the tabletop. We're gonna hold this posture and find balance within it. Now holding our leg up, left arm will move up towards the ceiling, and then it will open out to the side. Let's move through this sequence. Inhale, arm lifts up. Exhale, it opens. Inhale out. And exhale. Good. 2 more. And last one. Let's bring arm up towards the ceiling. Both hands will meet each other. We're going to lower the right leg down and let our right arm move out to the side and hold it there. Find the balance within this posture. And if you're ready, start peeling off your left leg up and bringing it towards the tabletop. Hold in this position and then starting to move through the right arm. Bringing it in and then bringing it out. Working on that neuro control. Making sure that you're moving slow enough to find stability through the pelvis. Excellent. And out. And in. And out. Last one. Let's bring both hands up towards the ceiling. Lower both legs down towards the floor. Good. Now we're going to lower our hands all the way down and just keep them on the floor, either palms on the floor or the elbows could be bent. So just the elbows are pressing down. We're going to bring one leg up into the tabletop and then the other. Now our abdominals are more contracted and our pelvis is more imprinted. So we're not so much in neutral. And I want you to keep oblique connection. So think about pulling your ribs towards the pelvis and maybe even keep your hands on your pelvic bones. Your goal is to not let that abdominal connection, not to lose it. We're going to start bringing one leg down, going into our heel taps or toe taps. Exhale, bring it back. Inhale as you lower the other leg down. Exhale back. Make it a little harder. Allow your leg to extend all the way and bring it back. And extend the other leg all the way out. Breathe in. Exhale back. As you lengthen that leg away, keep your abdominals connected so there's no arch in the lower back. The back does not extend. And bring it back. Excellent. We're going to do 2 more on each side. With the next one, we're going to bring both legs towards the tabletop and let's extend them straight up towards the ceiling. Toes are reaching up, tailbone is on the OOV of the ball. Arms are down. We're going to breathe in to prepare. We're going to go into single leg circles. So our left leg is going to drop down, circle out to the side, and come back in. It's not going to be a big circle. It's going to be very small. Inhale, lower, exhale, circle it around, and bring it in. Elbows are pressing down. Lower out to the side and bring it in. Last one this direction. And then reverse the direction. Leg goes out to the side, down and back up. You can totally do modification and do this with the knee bend. Equally important, what we're looking for is the arc of movement through the hip. Just allowing that femur to rotate. Let's switch sides to the other side. So first we're going to drop the other leg down, circle it out, and bring it back. Let it drop, circle it around, and bring it back. It's great work through that rotating mechanism of the hip, the ball and socket joint. Abdominals are staying connected. Let's reverse the direction. Let that leg go out to the side, down, and bring it up. And open, down, exhale up. Last one. And bring it in. Let's bend both knees, lower legs down, and we're gonna come off the OOV the ball all the way. Excellent. Now, grab the OOV or the balance sit. We're gonna go into some sideline work. So these are on the OOV. You're gonna be in the saddle, and then the OOV is gonna go along the side of the body. So we're gonna be side bending. On the balance sit, the femur is gonna go inside this little bowl. And it's kind of like this perfect place for the femur. And then you're gonna allow yourself to go down onto the elbow. So on the OOV, you're gonna be more supported through the side of your body. But on the balance sit, it's going to be much more challenging, actually. So the bottom knee will be bent, have the weight handy, and then the top leg is going all the way nice and long. Yep. So your hip is inside the OOV is all the way along the side. And we're just going to kind of start out here finding a long line. Now, if you're on the balance sit, kind of test, you have much more movement front and back. So it's going to challenge that front to back plane of motion, the stability through that plane. On the OOV, it feels a lot more stable and a lot more supported underneath the waistline. So we're going to flex our top foot. We're going to breathe in and let that leg lift. Exhale as we lower. Inhale, lift, press into the shoulder. We're in this supported side plank. And lower. Lift and lower. You can also do this just on the floor without any equipment. We want to feel glute medius, feel the back of the hip. So if you're feeling too much in the front, bring that leg a little bit further back. Excellent. Now let's lift and hold. We're going to rotate that femur up towards the ceiling and down towards the floor. So trying to find that movement through that femur. This is more for the rotators of the hip. Piriformis is definitely one of them. You want to keep that length, reaching through the heel, moving through the rotations, trying to get into that end range. 2 more. And last one here. Let's lower that leg all the way down and just allow your body to go all the way down into the side bend. Kind of a nice opening. Take a deep breath in. Allow that lateral line of the myofascial sling to lengthen. Now inhale, lift the arm up. We're going to come back up into that supported plank, elbow down. Yep. These are on the OOV. Now we're going to grab the weight if you have it. We're going to take that weight into the top arm just to add a little bit of a load to it. We're going to breathe in, lift the leg, reach the arm. Our hips are still supported. Now we're going to reach that arm forward and allow our torso to rotate a little bit with it. Breathe in and then exhale, reach it behind us. So start swinging that arm forward and back, leg stays lifted. Inhale in, exhale out. And in, and out. So working on the isometric holds through the glute. Now we're gonna add the leg movement. The leg is gonna move back as the arm moves forward, and then the hip comes forward as the arm moves back. So we're moving in opposition. Four more, inhale, and exhale. And inhale, and exhale. Two more. And last one. And come back in. Come back into the long line, lower the leg, and lower your body all the way into the side bend. Let's slowly come back out of it, and we're going to transition to the other side. So balance sit or the OOV, just going to go lengthwise. The hip is going to go in the saddle or into this little space with the balance sit. It actually feels really, really nice, I think, with the balance sit in terms of just having that space and not having any pressure. We're going to find that nice elbow underneath the shoulder. Yep, the bottom hip just bent, but you want to find that nice long line. Now, also think about lifting your ribs up. So the ribs will kind of sink into the floor, but if you press into that shoulder, lift your ribs up. Now you're essentially in a supported modified plank. We're going to flex our foot and lift up into that hip abduction and then lower down. I like to keep my hand on the pelvis because we can focus on stability. You can see if you're trying to hike up, you want to keep the length, you want to keep that supported plank. This is a really great way to work on improving strength in single leg stance. So if you stand in one leg, running kind of activities, hiking, it helps find that lateral line activation all the way from the foot through the glute, through our waistline, through the obliques, QL, all the way up to the neck. So we want to make sure that we keep nice long neck. And if you can kind of see yourself, if your head is to the side, try to make it continuation of the rest of the spine. Now let's lift and hold. We're going to rotate that hip down and up. Keep checking in, keeping that alignment, pressing into the shoulder. And lift, down and up. Two more. Last one. Lower all the way down. Allow yourself to lengthen over into the nice side bend. Take a deep breath in. Think about heavy heel reaching down and away through that foot and then reaching up through the arm, creating an active length through that lateral line. And then we're going to come up, grab our weight, 2 to 3 pounds. Nice alignment again through that modified side plank on the OOV. We can be a little bit more supported. Reaching up through that arm, lifting that leg up. So we're parallel to each other. The arm and the leg are in line. So the first thing, we're going to start moving through the arm. We're going to reach forward and allow your thoracic spine, head and shoulder move with it. And then your eye gaze is following along towards the thumb. So we're working through integration of the shoulder blade, the whole shoulder girdle into the thoracic spine. Our shoulder blade is meant to move independently, but also together with a rib cage for functional movement to happen. So this is a great way to activate our lateral line, which is the hip, keeping the pelvis stable and really focus on thoracic rotation and shoulder movement. Last one here. Now let's start adding the leg. As the arm reaches over, the leg will kick back. And then the arm and the head, everything moves back as the leg comes forward. So this is a mat side kick Pilates exercise. Can be completely done on the floor without any devices underneath our hip. But having OOV or balance sit just adds instability underneath us. And I found that training movement on a stable surface is less effective as opposed to having unstable surface, just for neurological feedback and connection. Last one. And let's lower everything back down and allow your body to side bend over. Well done. We're gonna come back up and we're gonna go into the prone or on our stomach series. So, Lisa, with the OOV, you're going to have your OOV with the flip it over. So the big part is going to go right underneath the rib cage and the pointed part is going to go around the pubic bone. With the balance set, this is where it really, I think, does a bit better than OOV for stuff. We're going to be looking at it so the fat part is forward. And the pubic bone is going to go right into this bowl. So the front of the hip bones is going to be on the highest part of the device. So with the OOV, Lisa, you're going to feel that pressure into your ribs. So it's going to flex you more through the upper ribs. With the balance set, there's no more pressure into the rib cage. So if that feels bad with the OOV, this is really good way. So we're going to just allow everything to flex over it. And just kind of allow your body to get used to it. And I'm just going to take a look at everyone to make sure everybody's in good position. Yeah. So Lisa, you're going to be taking a breath into the OOV, feeling your diaphragm press into it. It's going to increase the capacity in the back of the thorax, increase breath into those lower lobes. On the balance set, you're just going to breathe. You're not going to feel much into the rib cage, but you're going to start feeling your pelvis move a little bit side to side. Now we're going to go into extension from here. So arms will reach forward, palms are down. We're going to breathe in and start pushing our pubic bone down and allowing our upper body to lift up into extension. So the hips may be a little bit externally rotated, pubic bone is pressing down, and we're really lengthening up. And then exhale as we dive forward. So on the OOV, inhale as you lift up, you're going to start peeling yourself off the OOV, coming up into extension. Now on the balance sit, notice how it takes your pelvis into extension. It gives space for the pubic bone to drop, and it actually decreases compression in the lower lumbar and the side joint area, and it kind of helps to create more of the extension without feeling discomfort. So it really promotes a better segmental extension and also side-to-side pelvic control. So now you're going to focus on not letting balance it move side to side. One more time. Inhale, come up. And exhale, dive forward. For the next breath, we're going to lift up into the long line. So the elbows will stay right down underneath the shoulders. Legs are flat, so the chest is supported on the OOV. But if you're in the balance sit, your pelvis is really supported on the balance sit. We're going to bring our chin down. We're going to start with some neck motion. So I want you to nod your chin and look all the way down. Now keep your chin tucked as you're starting to extend your spine, releasing the chin tuck at the top. Two more just like that. Nod the chin, bringing the head all the way down. Releasing the chin tuck as we're coming back up. Last one, focusing on a segmental movement. First the chin nod, then head flexes. Now start extending from the lower spine and then releasing the chin out at the top. Now it's not the chin, find our neutral position. So the back of the neck is long. We're gonna go into rotation. Look to the left, keeping our head nice and long as far as you can. And then look to the right. Shoulders are staying connected, elbows are pressing down into the floor. We're moving through our upper cervical as we're rotating. Gaze is straight down to the floor, but then you're allowing it, if you had a laser point coming from your forehead, that laser will draw a perfect line. Coming back to the center, find a neutral position, keeping our head there. We're gonna start reaching our left leg up. So engaging through the glute, letting it just float off the floor a couple of inches. Now start reaching your right arm forward. The pinky will be on the floor. And then maybe you can lift it up and find balance in that posture. We're just holding it here. This is a beautiful posterior sling activation through the glute, into the lat, into the opposite shoulder, lower trap, all the way up. Multifidi is working to keep our spine stable as our pelvis is maybe moving a little bit, trying to find balance in this posture. Now, if you feel pretty good, we're gonna start moving arm out to the side and leg out to the side. Breathe in and exhale, coming back to the center. 4 more. Inhale out. Exhale in. If this doesn't feel good on your back, you can lower your leg down and just move through the arm or just move through the leg. This is a very powerful position and requires a lot of stabilization and control. And come back in, lower that arm down, lower that leg down. Let's go to the other side. Start with activating the glute and then lifting that leg up. So the timing is important. What extends the hip? You want to start with the glute max. Now reach the opposite arm forward and then maybe lift it off. So now we're in this nice long line. We're going to start moving arm out to the side and leg out to the side and then coming back in. The goal is to move as slow as you need to keep balance of the pelvis. So it's a lot of back extension work. And come back in, a lot of glute work. It's a great way to work on hip abductors because we're abducting in prone as opposed to the sideline. It helps activate a little more muscles through there. Last one, coming back in. And then lower that leg down, lower the arm down. Allow your body to extend all the way forward. And then let's press up into the shell stretch. So let your hips move back, round, just relieve the pressure that has built up. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Last breath, we're gonna slowly start coming back up on hands and knees. So let's take a moment without any devices, just find a nice position through hands and knees. Now let's take our spine through flexion extension, but we're gonna do it sequentially. Let's start with the tailbone, curling it up, pulling abdominals in, pulling ribs in, starting to round through our thoracic spine, pressing into the floor, and then nodding the chin and coming up into that full flexion. Full flexion of the spine as much as you can. Take a deep breath at the top. Let's start unfolding from the tailbone. So lifting your tailbone up first. Drop in the belly, lumbar extends. Drop in the chest, thoracic spine extends. And then keeping chin tucked, starting to extend our neck, releasing the chin tuck at the top. Now we're gonna start from the head. Nod the chin, look down, pull your ribs in, start rounding through the upper chest. And then keep going down the line, abdominals pull in, and the tailbone is the last thing to curl under. Take a deep breath at the top. Let's start unfolding from the neck. So keep the chin tucked, but start looking up. And then dropping between the shoulder blades, letting thoracic spine extend. Then letting the belly drop, lumbar extends, and then the tailbone comes all the way up. Now let's find neutral through this posture. So the neutral is chin is down, ribs pull in. We want to have a curve in our upper thoracic. So we don't want to be too straight. We want to pull our ribs in so there is a curve. And then we want to lift our tailbone up so there's a curve in the lumbar. Now feel that posture. And now we're going to start adding devices to it, instability, right? To train our core. So with the balance sit, the right knee is going to go through the middle. With the OOV, we're going to take it horizontally, Lisa, and then your knee is going to go into the saddle. So it's just going to be in the saddle. Yep. With the big part of the OOV out to the side and the skinny part towards the end. The balance sit, the middle of the balance sit has the most foam. So it's a really soft position for the knee, and it's a great way to do kneeling stuff. Arms will go right underneath the shoulders. So we're going to start with our toes curled. And we're going to kind of take a second and find that posture through that neutral position. Find our curves, thoracic flexion, lumbar extension, upper cervical flexion, and lower cervical extension. Now from here, the leg that's free, that's not on anything, that knee, I want you to let that knee drop down to the floor. So it's a twist through a pelvis, through a side joint, and then lift that hip up. So your pelvis will move a little bit. The knee drops down and then it comes back up. Let's just do a couple of those. And then find your neutral position where hips are lined up. Let's take that leg and extend it back. And then we're going to lift it up into the long line. Toe is flexed, you're reaching through the heel. Nice long line. Arms are pressing firmly into the floor. We're going to bend that knee towards the ceiling. Now, keeping the hip bent, we're going to go into hip circles here. So we're going to take that hip out to the side, start rotating it out to the side, bringing it all the way to the elbow of that same hand into flexion, and then back to neutral. Keep lifting it up towards the ceiling. Moving the hip out to the side so the knee stays bent, and we're going through this hip arcs in quadruped position. Now, if this is not hard enough, if you're like, the knee that's on the OOV for balance sit, that foot is going to come off the floor. So less points of contact. Last one here, keep pressing firmly into the floor. Bringing it all the way in. Now we're going to extend that leg long again, pointing through the toes instead of a flexed heel. The opposite arm is going to start coming off the floor as you're finding balance in this posture. So maybe that hand is just barely off the floor. Maybe you're reaching it all the way forward. Keep breathing. Maybe your foot is on the floor, or maybe your toes are off the floor. We're going to stay here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it all the way in. Well done. Let's sit back, take a break. And we're going to go on to the other side. So the other knee is going to go inside the balance sit, or the OOV is going to turn around and the knee is just going to be in the saddle. Yep, that's perfect, Lisa, with the other side out to the side. Okay, so we're going to put some pressure in there, starting with toes curled. Arms pressing down. And then starting with our little hip disassociation, dropping that knee down to the floor and then lifting the knee up. So the leg that's free from any devices, just gonna move up and down. And you just sort of wanna drop through that side of the pelvis. It's a great way to actually create some movement in your sacroiliac joint if you need it there. This creates discomfort because maybe you're unstable in that area. Don't do it. It feels pretty good. Let's find a neutral position. So that knee is off the floor, hips are leveled. You're gonna start reaching that leg up. Heel is pointing away, toes are flexed. Find a new posture here. We're gonna bend that knee, keep it flexed at 90 degrees. We're going into our hip circles or arcs. So bringing the hip out to the side into external rotation and abduction, then up into flexion like the knee is trying to reach your elbow, and then bring it back out to the side, into extension, and we're gonna do it again. So let's do a couple more times here. Moving at your own pace. Good. If it's not hard enough, toes come off the floor. Now, on the OOV, your knee is just gonna be there, but on the balance set, you can feel how maybe your balance set is pushed way out to the side. So you wanna push it in, you wanna keep it leveled, because that's when you know you're starting to really lean into that hip. Last one. Bringing it all the way up. Extended that leg, pointing the toes now. So you're in this nice long line. Check in with your abdominals, bring your pelvis, and then start lifting off opposite arm off the floor. Found in balance. Maybe you're reaching forward, and we're gonna hold this. So it's good to move through different postures, but it's also good to hold them. Once you find that movement, working on strengthening isometrically, and we're gonna go for 10, and 9, and 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And bring it all the way back. Let's sit back towards the shell stretch to reset. Arms reach all the way forward. Knees can be together, out to the side, whatever feels good here. Maybe turn your head side to side. Catch your breath. We're gonna come back out of it, and we're gonna do a little bit of a seated position. So on the balance set, you're gonna sit on top of it. On the OOV, you're also gonna sit on the top big part of it. So with the OOV, the skinny part is gonna go straight forward, and you're gonna be kind of sitting with the legs reaching straight forward on the big part of it. And the same way on the balance sit. So we're sitting on the really big part with the OOV, you're just gonna have the skinny part in between, kind of forward. But on the balance sit, it's really nice actually to do the long sitting positions, like our saw and some of the other things in Pilates repertoire. Now, just taking a second and allowing your hips to move side to side, allowing your pelvis to rock side to side. Maybe take your hands out to the side and then side bend your body as one hip drops, you're gonna side bend the other way. So you're creating a side bend in the torso. Just kind of moving back and forth. Arms can just sort of do, you can even keep them on the shoulders. But we're doing this because there is a response when our pelvis drops down, there's a response up the chain through the thoracic spine, the head, the neck, and the shoulders that should happen. And it's an important response. So notice if you feel different side to side. If you're easier to side bend one way, but then the other way, you're gonna feel a little bit stuck, right? And then find yourself in the center. To make it harder, grab the weights. If it's hard enough, just don't use anything. Now we're gonna focus on stability. So you don't wanna feel like your hips are moving. Whatever you're sitting on, they're gonna stay nice and stable. Abdominals will pull in, nice long torso, so you're stacked over your pelvis. Nice long neck. Arms will lift up. We're gonna start with some arm work. From here, inhale as arms open out to the side, and exhale to come back in. Inhale, open, exhale, close. So let's check in with the shoulders. Are they elevated? You want to keep them in neutral. Now that doesn't mean lock them down. It just means bring them back towards the rib cage, but not squeezing. So they're sort of in that nice neutral position, which sometimes is hard to find. Now bring your arms all the way forward. Let one arm go out to the side and bring it in. And then the other. Exhale in. Inhale, one arm moves out to the side. Exhale in. And the other. Notice if your torso is doing something different when one arm moves and then the other. Maybe it's kind of starting to turn some things on to stabilize against the load moving out to the side. And bring it in. Now move one arm up towards the ceiling and lower it back down, and the other. Having 1 to 3 pound weights, this will start making your shoulders burn, but it's a great way to work on the endurance of those little postural muscles. So one more time, side to side, keep breathing through it. Let's open arms out to the side, palms up. We're gonna bicep curl and bring them back. Exhale, bicep curl. Inhale out. And 2. And last one. Now let's turn our palms down and then turn our palms up. And turn our palms down and back up. 2 more, little nerve flossing action here. When we rotate through that brachial plexus, we have a bunch of nerves there through our armpits, through the shoulder. So you might feel some tingling here. And bring it in. Let's bring our hands all the way forward. Lower the weights if you had them. We're gonna go into the saw. So arms are gonna move forward and out to the side. We're gonna breathe in as we rotate to one side. So rotate kind of up through the torso. Now we're gonna round forward and reach to the outside of the foot. Now the back hand is gonna rotate back. So that shoulder internally rotates and reaches back as the arm reaches to the little toe. Now stay rotated as you lengthen back up. Now palms are facing forward the same way. And then we come back to the center. So I'm starting to add these components to build into the full exercise. So inhale, we twist to the other side, nice and tall through the torso. Exhale, we flex forward. Our arm reaches the outside of the pinky. Back arm internally rotates and reaches back. Inhale, we'll lengthen back up. And then we'll come back to the center. 2 more. Breathe in, we rotate. Exhale, we reach, lengthen, flex. Inhale, we lengthen back up. And exhale, come back to center. Breathe in, twist to the other side as far as you can, lengthen up. Exhale, flex forward. Inhale, come up. And back to center. Last one. Rotate. Flex. Lengthen up. And center. And rotate the other way. Take your time, get a little further Now start flexing across. Hips are still stable. Inhale, lengthen back up. And exhale, come back to center. Well done. Let's come on off here. Now, we're gonna go into our lunge sequence from here. So with the balance set, our knee is gonna go kind of still forward in the same position that we did on hands and knees. Now with the OOV, you're gonna turn it around, Lisa. So your knee is gonna go into the saddle, the skinny part of the OOV is forward and the fat part of the OOV is back. So your shin is resting on the OOV, basically. But with the balance set, your leg is just kind of down. Yep, exactly. So as you come up into the lunged position, this is actually, a very important functional posture. So let's take a minute to line ourselves up. We're gonna find a neutral stack. So the thoracic spine is over the pelvis, the knees resting down on the floor on the balance set, or inside the saddle of the OOV, the foot is going back. Now from here, we're gonna tuck our tailbone under. So we're gonna go into the imprint, kind of really curl our tailbone under. So now we're feeling opening and stretch through the knee that's down on the floor. Let's bring our hands up and behind our head. We're gonna interlace them and then arms are open. I call this a prisoner posture. You're gonna put your head back, push it back into your hands, feel the back of your neck engage. And then from here, we're gonna start side bending side to side. So you're gonna allow your torso to side bend towards one side, pelvis stays stable, and then allow your torso to side bend the other way. And keep going. So it's different. Earlier, we did our pelvis side bending side to side. Now we're keeping our pelvis stable and we're side bending from the upper torso side to side. So we're working on that disassociation of the upper half of our body from the lower. Notice how the foot responds, the one that's in the front in relationship to this movement. And then let's come back to the center. And now we're gonna rotate. So rotate your torso just like we did with saw to one side and then rotate to the other. Let your eyes follow along. Just kind of find some movement through there. The hip stays open, so you feel a stretch in the front of the hip, not in the lower back. Come back to the center. Now we're gonna come back to the center. Arms are still back behind you if this is okay. And we're gonna lunge forward into that front leg. And then come back in. And lunge forward. And come back in. Now this might feel better if you're on the OOV. And come back in. But on the balance set, what I like about this is that if you lift your foot off the floor, now you're working a lot through the hamstring of the back leg. And come back in. Well done. Let's switch sides. So if it's the OOV, your knee is gonna go inside the saddle. The big part of the OOV is back, so your shin is lined up with the seam. On the balance set, you're just gonna find that middle ground. And with the balance set, you wanna keep it straight. You wanna keep it centered. So you're gonna really feel if you're moving through the hip, much better than on the OOV in this position. So we're gonna come up here. First, we're gonna find your lunged position. The bottom leg is just back. Now let's start tucking our pelvis under. So we're kind of pulling up from that hip bone through here. It's abdominals that are pulling up, and then it's the glute that's pushing down. So we want to just feel the opening through that hip. So important to have that hip extension, range of motion. And then from here, we're going to bring our hands back behind our head. The head pushes back into the hands that are interlaced. So it activates the back part of the neck, all those good muscles. Nice long neck. And let's start side bending our torso side to side here. So I want you to visualize as if you're moving between two panes of glass. You're kind of stuck in between the window in the front and in the back, and you don't want to touch that glass. So you're moving deliberately slow and in a perfect line. We're going to come back to the center, check in with your knee, make sure that it's right underneath the hip. And then let's start rotating side to side. Now, as you're rotating here, I want you to visualize as if you're wringing out a towel. So it's a wet towel and you're kind of wringing it out and you're looking at that rotation of those curves of the towel, how it starts from the center and then it moves out each way. So you're stretching the towel, so you're lengthening up from the neck, from the spine. Still feeling the front of that hip open. Last one. Let's come back to the center. We're going to lunge forward. So we're staying nice and straight. We're staying tall. And we're just bending that front knee as far as it will go. And then coming back. So think about the front foot. You have pressure into the big toe, the little toe, and the heel. Kind of full contact with the ground. Now, if you have the OOV, you're going to push your shin down into the OOV as you come forward. If you're on the balance set, maybe lift that foot off the floor. So it's a different activation. On the OOV, we're activating more through the quad. The balance set, we have more of the hamstring. I think both of the devices, as you kind of learn how your body feels in all of them, it just challenges our system differently. And then coming back in. And then lower that leg down. Let's relax all the way. We're going to finish with a little bit of standing balance work. So we're going to come up all the way up into standing. Now, on the OOV, you're going to put your foot inside the saddle. So the toes are going to go forward into the bigger part, and the heel is going to go back towards the pointy part. On the balance set, we're going to turn it around. So your heel is going to go to the upper part, and the foot is going to just stay right in the center bowl. So we're going to find our balance, and then we're going to just see if we can stabilize, if we can lift the other foot up. So lots of stability here, lots of work side to side. This is where that working on that lateral line that we were doing in sideline is so important. Is can you load through that leg, not drop your pelvis on the other side. You want to focus on keeping your pelvis over nice and leveled as you're balancing through that leg. The knee is not locked, it's just slightly soft. All the foot muscles are working. Components of the OOV and balance set, the foam, it actually feeds into our foot intrinsics and really stimulates it really well. And I think on balance it feels really good to be in this position. You can kind of feel how you can lift your arch. It really works the arch muscles through the leg. Now we're going to bring the opposite knee up. Or keep standing. So hopefully you're feeling work in the glute, not just the lower leg. If you are, that's the important part, because you want to turn on your glute, all the hip muscles, when the foot is in a single leg position. Now the leg that's up, that knee is bent, we're gonna add little hip arcs. Rotate it back and forth. And just notice how your foot all of a sudden starts responding to that rotation through the opposite hip. Excellent. Good, almost there. Let's come back to the center and step on down. Switching sides. So with the balance set, the heel is on the upper higher part. With the OOV, the heel is towards the lower, the skinnier part, and the toes are towards the big part. And you're right in the saddle, second foot lined up with the seam. Now the other leg is gonna lift up. And we're gonna take a second and let our body find the control here. So this is a challenging position, especially with the balance set, that side to side motion. You know, most of the day, we kind of function front to back. That's most of our lives is front to back, sit to stand, walking, running. We don't really get to do side to side as much. So working on that position, I think, is incredibly important, especially as the summer comes around and we're getting into trail runs and the hiking, the ground's unstable, roots, and that requires that side to side capacity to balance and to integrate all the foot intrinsics so that we don't fall and sprain the ankle. Now let's start adding opposite hip arcs, back and forth. That's why I love, to do as much of the workouts as you can barefoot. Excellent. And as you notice, as your foot kind of quiets down and stops doing this, that's awesome. That's the muscles, everything is turned on up the chain. Hopefully you're feeling it all the way up into the hip, even the core, even up into the neck. If you notice, if you bring your nice long line through the long neck, the chin is just knotted. We're lined up all the way. Good. And then come back to the center. And then we're going to step on down. Let's stand nice and flat. We're going to take a breath in, reach up through the arms, lift up, breathe in, and exhale. Let's reset. And we are done. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.